Hello, this is Eleni Sfiroudis. I am with the ADHD Advocate, and thank you for joining us on today's LinkedIn Live. I'm going to be speaking with you about academic success. And as a parent and as a coach, certainly this is a very timely topic as the school year gets off to a start. I want to tell you a little about what we see when we coach students with ADHD and things that we can do to support them and help them and give them strategies to be more successful. So what we've seen certainly is a lack of understanding and acceptance around ADHD. And that comes from multiple places. It comes from maybe somebody not being accurately diagnosed. It comes from a lack of understanding about mental health and wellness issues. It comes from also just not having professionals or people that can actually understand and support and give people strategies around ADHD. And so we have lack of understanding. We also have executive function challenges. And people with ADHD tend to struggle with executive function, and they also can struggle with weak working memory. So this is just kind of the brain's capacity to hold information and organize it and execute it in a timely manner and in an appropriate manner for whatever situation they're in. And I'll tell you more about this in a bit, but this can lead to disorganization. It can lead to feelings of overwhelm. It can lead to just not successful outcomes, especially in an academic setting. Another thing we see is rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And that is something that I believe my colleague Stephanie has spoken with quite a bit. And this is the feeling or the suspicion that things around you are not as they seem. So it could be perfectionism. It could be not asking for help. It's the perception that someone is being excluded or left behind. It's all of these emotions that can be kind of manifested, and what they look like in somebody with ADHD can be very poor self-esteem or avoidance or overwhelm. So RSD is a very real symptom that can contribute to struggles with a student's academic program. We also see lack of interest with students, and certainly we acknowledge that there are subjects that not all of us might like to study or enjoy. And we have to remember that the ADHD brain is fueled for sort of authentic interest. That's what keeps us going. And something that is not of interest to us is going to be that much more difficult to engage in and to be consistent and to stick with. So recognizing that authentic interest is what fuels us can also help as we prepare some strategies for academic success. We also know that ADHDers can struggle with impulsivity. Sometimes we recognize that our brain, again, needs this interest, needs this fuel. And if there's something even slightly more interesting going on or something that we want to explore, we have sometimes difficulty distinguishing between the now and the not now. So now seems like a great time for pretty much anything that is more interesting. So that impulsivity is something we have to acknowledge and to structure our study habits around. And lastly, the self-esteem that can come with having ADHD, and perhaps it's undiagnosed ADHD. Often students with any kind of a learning difference might be used to hearing a lot of negative feedback or corrections or things that they should do or shouldn't do or do better. And over time, this message is one that can really negatively affect a student's self-worth. And that too is something that we are very much aware of. So what can you do? What can we do to help students achieve academic success? A couple of things here, especially at the ADHD Advocate. The first that we have always said is to start looking through the ADHD lens. Now, what does that mean? That really becomes first and foremost understanding what ADHD is and what ADHD is not. And for parents and for educators, we actually have an online program. It's 4 modules about ADHD awareness and education. So that is something we can post in the chat, instructions on how to access that through our sister company, the ADHD Academy. So really, once you have this or begin to develop this understanding of ADHD, it's also going to help shift your perspective around the symptoms, around what ADHD means in your family, perhaps for your child. You might recognize some symptoms in yourself or your partner, because we know ADHD is hereditary. So having this insight and being able to develop this perspective is really going to help as you recognize what your child or your student needs to be successful academically. The second thing is an accurate ADHD diagnosis. And I know my colleagues have covered this also in other LinkedIn Lives, but it is really important to work with somebody, a practitioner that has experience recognizing and supporting ADHD. There are many ways to help, and certainly recognizing the diagnosis, not just around ADHD, but also perhaps another condition that coexists, because we do know that ADHD coexists with a multitude of different conditions. And as we look at academic success, we also want to make sure that perhaps the student isn't also diagnosed with dyslexia or dyspraxia or autism. These are all existing conditions that can also appear. We want to make sure that we've identified and are supporting them properly. We also want to look at what support options are available, since this is academic success, in the school where the child is. So in the United Kingdom, certainly that can start with looking into an EHCP. And there are wonderful resources on our website, free of charge, that Stephanie Camilleri, the founder of the ADHD Advocate, has put on how to put together an EHCP and what that document will mean and entitles a student to throughout their academic career. As a student gets older and gets to university, it becomes even more crucial to make sure that they are continuing to lean into the support and the habits that they will have developed. And as a student, progresses, it becomes, of course, all about the academics, but we also see in coaching students that as they mature, we support other areas of their lives where executive function, working memory, these skills that we already know are a little bit weak, continue to need support and structure and reinforcement. So this is in the social skills area. This can be in time management. This can be with relationships. This can be around money. This can be around addiction, because we know that sometimes ADHDers can have highly addictive personalities. All of these issues and areas are things that we address in coaching as well. So once you have the support, we want to make sure that there is consistency and structure for the student to fall back on, or not fall back on, but to make sure they know that they can lean into as they are approaching their work. And these become more practical as they look like routines, and they can support the students' maybe learning deficits or areas that they do actually need a bit more consistency. And to this end, the ADHD Advocate, we have created an academic success program. Our one for the university students starts next week, actually, and one for high school students is going to start in the new year. And these are really important because we recognize that as students get a bit older and a bit more independent, they do need more support to make sure that they do stay on course to achieve what it is that they're being asked to do. And this becomes a lot harder as they get into high school and university, where the objectives are less defined and the timelines are sort of much longer. So for example, when a student in university has a whole semester to complete a paper, we want to make sure that the habits that they have set up are going to support them doing that work in an appropriate way, in a way that's consistent, that's manageable, that they can feel successful along steps along the way, and not just cramming it all into a night or two before it's due, and then not putting forth their best effort, which isn't going to be their best work, and then the whole downward spiral can sort of continue. So our academic success programs really seek to identify what students need and kind of where they are to be successful in their academic journey. We've actually broken that down into 6 steps. The first one is to look through the ADHD lens, which I just described. It's really gaining that perspective and understanding about ADHD. The second is to help students identify their strengths and their vision and their values. And this is very important because a lot of times students are not really asked what it is that is important to them. We sort of assume we know as parents or educators, but by listening and kind of understanding, we can help them channel their energy to be successful. The third thing is to help them set a new standard. And this is kind of asking them to kind of think beyond maybe what they might have started doing or progressing, and getting a clearer idea of what's around the objectives that they hope to achieve. The fourth is to really dive into their learning styles. Some of us learn visually, some were more auditory processing, some people like to read, other people don't. There's a whole host of learning styles that we often don't, we assume that we all learn the same way, and nothing could be further from the truth. So looking at that is another key piece to this whole puzzle that we're looking to put together to provide a base for our students to be successful. The fifth is to take charge. And this is where we can start to shift the things that we've talked about with our students for them to embrace and own, and recognize that the tools that we've given them, it's kind of up to them to get behind them and to put them into place, and with our support and our the community that we are to give them that structure and consistency they need, they are going to be on a road to academic success. And lastly is consistency. And with our academic success programs, we offer study halls to check in, to allow students that space for their own work to be done, for their own self-care, for any ADHD related questions that will come up, and they certainly do. We are there to support them. So I hope this has helped give you a bit more of an understanding about the resources that we offer for academic success. Please do get in touch if you would like more information. And thank you again for joining us. Bye-bye.